This is the Big Deal Podcast, brought to you and powered by New Covenant Baptist Church in Albertville, Alabama. And on this podcast, we're asking the question, what's the big deal about the Bible, about certain things in the Bible? Specifically, we've been going through the book of Genesis on our trip through the entire narrative of the Bible. I'm Justin.
I'm Brad.
Welcome to the Big Deal. Hey, Brad, how you doing?
I'm great.
What you been up to, man?
Today?
Yeah.
Or like what? Today I had to buy tires for my daughter's car.
Okay.
That was terrible.
Yeah, they're expensive.
It hurt my feelings. And then I ran
Mm-hmm. How far did you run?
2.5 miles.
How fast?
Slow.
Oh.
It was very hot.
Yeah, it's pretty hot today,
Sucked
dude. It's
the
like
life out of me.
almost 90 degrees.
Yes. I felt it. I said, let's go run at 1 o'clock when it's the hottest.
Yeah, love that.
Suffer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There I was.
Yeah.
That's what I did today. Read some stuff.
Yeah.
I did some other things, but it's gone.
Yeah, you forgot.
I don't know what it
Yeah,
is.
the day went away.
That's what I get for shoving 10 terabytes into a 1 terabyte drive. It's
Yeah,
just some of it just goes out. It's falling out my ears. I don't know where it goes.
That's true, man.
Yeah.
Cool. I got a question for you. Okay.
I can't wait.
The world wants to know. All right. If you were to start a rock band
Rock band?
tomorrow, just a band.
Okay.
It's just always rock band. You know,
Oh,
you
yeah.
always say
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like the. What would you name it?
It would not be a rock band. I started a praise band one time.
Did you? What?
Yeah, at the church.
Oh, the church.
We called it the stand-ins because we had so many people rotating in and out that I called it the stand-ins. That
That's
was a good
funny.
one. But if I started my own band, it would be like a folk country band kind
Folk country, like what kind of? What's your style?
What's my style? It would be somewhere between the Eagles and Leonard Skinner. Is that folk country?
That's not folk. That's
What is
just
that?
Southern rock.
It's Southern rockish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
What about that as folk?
I would have a banjo.
Yeah. Was that serious?
Serious, like taking up for me.
Yeah. No, there's. Yeah, I mean, but that's not Eagles and Leonard Skinner though.
The Eagles country though. They're not Southern.
No,
rock.
people who cover the Eagles are country.
That's because the Eagles didn't know they were country.
They didn't. They were no. I don't. They weren't country, man.
What were they?
They're Southern rock.
Oh,
They're just rock. They're like 70s rock.
if you say so.
Yeah.
Then why ain't those rock bands covering them?
I'm not sure that they don't.
Anyway,
a lot of people cover
it's gonna
Eagles.
be
Yeah.
it's gonna be like Avett Brothers.
Okay, there you go. There's your folk.
Yeah,
country.
okay.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Avett Brothers Trampled by Turtles kind of stuff.
All right, okay.
Mumford and Son, but we would have better song. But they had great songs. But if
They're
you
all
like
the same.
if you
Yeah.
were like about to shoot me, like which Mumford song is this? I'd be like, you'd shoot me.
You just say the album.
Yeah.
And it's that
It's
way.
Babel.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. You just-
yeah. I would name it.
What was your band name? Yeah, it's a band name. Yeah.
It's gonna be called Dang It Bobby.
King of the Hill, man. Yeah.
They're gonna be Dang It
Bobby.
Bobbies, or maybe we could be the Dang It Bobbies.
The Dang It Bobby. No, it just had to be Dang It Bobby.
Dang It Bobby.
Yeah,
I like
Dang It
that. That's a
Bobby.
good one. And
That would be so. I would go watch you at Papa Doobie's play.
Dang
Yeah,
It Bobby.
Yeah,
Oh man, we should do it.
we really should.
What are we doing with our lives?
Me and Trevor have actually talked about. Shout out to Trevor Gavers.
Hey, Trevor.
The best guitar player I've ever played with in my
Yeah.
life. Yeah.
Hey, wait.
Yeah.
So I was not included though.
No. I'm sorry, man. You weren't included.
Come on, man. What are you doing to me? You're asking me about bands.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And I'm like, let's do a band. You're like, nope. I'm calling Trevor.
Me and Trevor have talked about playing out some, and then we've also talked with Kelly. Another shout out, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
Yeah, she's
But
incredible. She's actually way out of our
You make a
league.
mistake if you don't include me, because
Oh, okay.
I'm the soul of this band already. I can tell you that right now. I have angst in my soul. I'm a '90s kid.
Yeah, you got.
Dude, I got Eddie Vedder burrowed down in there somewhere. He's
Yeah.
still in there. Where to get out? Yeah.
So there's this. I have like this conversation I have with folks that want to like become part of like the church band.
Yeah.
You know, and they.
The one I founded, did you kick me out of?
And they come in
Yeah, I
and
see
they
where
want to
this
be
is
a part
going.
of it. And I was like, I want to hear them play. I want to hear them sing first. There's this conversation I always have with them when it's not quite ready.
Yeah.
I say, just keep practicing.
Yeah, just keep practicing.
Brad?
No, don't you dare. I will run you out of here with a stick, some sort of taser device.
Okay. Just
Yeah. Mhm.
keep.
Listen, you are standing on the shoulders of a giant.
That's right.
A giant.
That's right, man.
I started with the djembe.
Yeah, djembe's where it's at, man. I
then
love
the
a djembe,
cajon,
actually.
and the banjo, and it was not bad. I feel like you feel threatened by my banjoing. It's a fact. Go back to the early days.
man.
Ask Trevor. He longs for the banjo, like the children long for the mines.
Yep. Like the children. I love that. That's so funny.
That's a joke.
That's a joke.
Like, we stopped child labor in like last year, 40s something. 30s, 20s.
Yeah, 20s,
anyway,
yeah.
they have all these kids working in the mines, and they made them quit, and now they all play Minecraft because the children yearn for the mines.
They long for the mines.
They long for them. Give that kid a pick.
They long for the mines. This Trevor longs for the banjo. Trevor, if you're listening to this, I know you're going to be sending us text messages.
Fact. Trevor is going to take up for me. He is. We're bros like this. We're like
we will include a screenshot eventually about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We can't do this to Trevor.
No, we can't. The pressure's on Trevor right now. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know the truth, Trevor.
Yeah, we do. He was with me for 10 years.
All right. So we're getting into the middle ground of Genesis right now, man. This is some meat and potatoes here. We got the two brothers, man, the twins.
Yeah.
Jacob and Esau.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a story. It's chapter 27. And we're going to there's a lot in their story. They span several chapters. You have all the way from essentially their birth and into actually skips their entire life, most of their childhood stuff. We have this moment where with a betrayal and some lies and some things like that. Yeah. But is it a betrayal? I don't know. All the way to
it is a betrayal, but it's reconciliation. It's like a prophesied betrayal.
Yeah.
This is not the only time this happens.
So let's tell the story. It's a super long thing. I'm not sure we have the time to read it all the way through.
There's too much. Let's sum up.
So let's sum up the story.
Yeah.
Jacob and Esau, they're brothers, they're twins.
Esau was born dead first.
Yeah, first out the womb. Yep. Jacob's coming right after that.
Yep, he had a hold of his heel.
Yeah, and Esau is funny looking apparently. He's hairy and red.
Yeah.
And he's hairy enough where Jacob can fool his blind dad
by wearing goat skin.
Yeah, so that's exactly what happens. Isaac, the father, this is Abraham's son, he has a favorite, and it's Esau. Esau becomes his favorite.
This is also a theme.
It is, yep. And Esau is going to get the blessing of Isaac because of this favoritism, even though there's been a prophecy already in advance that the older shall serve the younger. So Esau,
but the prophecy came to Rebekah.
It came to Rebekah. I mean, do you think Isaac knew about it though?
But probably.
I mean, I'm sure if God told you something,
Isaac doesn't get a lot of it's out of curiosity, just a curious fact. Of all the patriarchs, we get almost nothing about Isaac.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
and I think personally that means he behaved.
But what we do have him is not good behavior. Though.
Well,
we don't have any we have.
He got
Abimelech.
And running some folks off the wells. But he never took multiple wives. He never did any of that junk.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess he didn't do that.
Yeah.
But this is not
it's a low bar.
Yeah, it really is a low bar.
I mean, compared to Jacob and his shenanigans.
Yeah, Jacob is weird. Has some strange stuff going on.
Yeah,
for sure. And so basically, what happens is because Esau is the favorite
of Isaac.
Rebekah and Jacob are going to collude a little bit for him to receive the blessing.
Rebekah is Jacob's. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jacob is Rebekah's favorite.
Yeah.
They got favorites. He's a little mama's boy.
And that's actually going to continue on.
I know.
In the story.
I told you.
There's a theme here.
I'm telling you.
Favoritism
and a
among
narrative.
Your children is not a great.
Jacob.
Good, yep.
My little boy Joey.
Yep.
I'm going to build him a nice little cloak. And anyway, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
So here's what happens. The scene is set. Isaac tells Esau to go out hunting kill something,
savory,
super delicious, make up his favorite dish for him, and then he's going to bless him.
Yeah.
And while he's gone out there in the wilderness, Rebecca overhears and tells Jacob and says, okay, we need to intersect in this moment, and we need to get you the blessing.
Yeah.
And so Rebecca goes out and kills a goat and cooks it up the best way, because she knows how to cook real good.
Mama knows.
Mama knows best. Yeah. And they dress Jacob up in goat skins all over his hands and in Esau's
give him some of
clothes.
Esau's clothes.
Yeah. And so
he'll
goes
stink
in
like Esau.
Yeah, he goes in, and Isaac's blind at this point. It's later on in his life, he's blind.
And apparently his tactile function's pretty much gone too. That means he can't feel nothing.
I know. How do you? I feel like if my eyes are closed and I go feeling someone's arm, I'd be able to tell the difference between a human arm.
Well, it depends.
And
goat
fur is like dense.
Well, not necessarily. There are goats that they shave like sheep's wool, cashmere.
Yeah.
So if it's like a woolly sheep, if he was like a really hairy dude, I could see him falling for it.
Okay.
It was also fresh and not tanned. She had just killed this goat, so it wasn't like one of those tanned hides.
I just feel. I mean, it's like it'd be hard to.
Also, God may have been involved a little bit.
And I know. And so as the story goes on, it's like you keep
and Jacob whines about it.
You keep on expecting him to find him out.
Oh, it's very tense.
Like it's like back
Jacob's
and forth.
like he's gonna know, and he's gonna curse me.
He says that sounds like Jacob's voice, but it feels like Esau's arms, and but it smells like Esau's clothes.
Yeah,
and this is delicious like Esau's food and stuff. You know,
it's like the big bad wolf and Little Red Riding Hood. My, what long claws you have, Granny.
That's right. It's very similar to that.
Yeah,
and it works. They totally trick Isaac, and Jacob receives the blessing
as the Lord intended.
Yep.
Does that mean them tricking Isaac was right?
That's the question.
That's what I ask you. You wiggle out.
You like that?
I did. That's how professors do.
I think that the way the story is told, you're expecting Isaac and Rachel to do Rebecca to do the right thing before. And when Esau is this favor and he's supposed to get the blessing, like that's the problem. And so I think it's like Rebecca is in a sense doing the right thing because she's fulfilling the prophecy. She's doing what she's been told.
So are you saying it's okay to lie and deceive?
I think sometimes it is.
Oh my
goodness. To deceive.
I had to argue with people in Sunday school about this before. Yeah. So this happens again. So Joseph will go ahead a little bit. Mm-hmm. His brothers sell him into slavery.
Yeah.
He goes to Egypt, gets elevated to second highest in Egypt after many sorrows.
Yeah.
And his brother's like, oh no, Dad's dead. Now he's going to kill us. And he's like, no, the thing you meant for evil, God meant for good, right? Mm-hmm. So was it good for them to sell him into slavery? The answer is no.
No. That slavery
But it had to happen.
Yeah.
So it's like, is this good? I don't know that it is good.
Yeah.
But did it have to happen? Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
Like Rahab lying about the spies. Oh, they left and went over this way.
Yeah.
Or Jonathan protecting David. Jonathan telling his dad, I don't know where he is.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
lied
right.
like a dog. So what I'm just going to tell you is if I have to, I'll just lie like a dog. And then to save your life, I would lie.
Yeah, and this one is even a little bit different. It's like, I mean, Isaac is wrong. Isaac is wrong in the narrative. I feel like it's an obvious thing that you have the prophecy. Yeah. You're not trying to like do gymnastics around the text. What does the text say? It says there's a prophecy. This is how it's supposed to be, and he's subverting it. And so Rebecca
saves the day.
Yeah, she's already proven to be this. She was this faithful woman. Like, really,
God speaks to her more than he does Isaac.
You mentioned this the last time that
I did.
That she is, that whole story about finding her is like depicting her as this faithful woman to God.
Yeah.
And I think that's continued. And you talk about Isaac not getting much screen time. It's because Rebecca's the actual hero in that generation.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to leave it to heaven. We're going to find out. Yeah. But like, there's just not a lot in his narrative. The only things in his narrative are repetitions of the mistakes of his father.
Is Rebecca ever chastised in the
No.
scriptures for what she did and how that went down?
No.
I don't, yeah. So I think,
But a lot of people do some weird stuff they never get chastised for in the Bible.
yeah, I mean,
They like the
That's
multiple
true.
wives thing.
That's true.
And all this
Yeah.
stuff. There's a lot of times people do
I think
bad
that
things.
those are like
Jephthah, when he walks out and sacrifices his daughter and judges, there's never.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I just mean like the way the stories work in Genesis is there is a point to them, and like it's an obvious point when they sell their wife to Abimelech or Pharaoh or something that was bad. Like there's obvious repercussions and stuff. I think the issue in a lot of this is just the family dysfunction that's coming from sin. Being in the world and like the spiral that's begun, these families aren't functional. They're not like, this isn't like a happy scenario.
But it's weird too because I'm terrible. I kind of feel bad for Esau.
Do you?
A little bit because he gets married and he marries women he ought not.
Yeah.
And it says they're a grief to Isaac and Rebekah.
Yeah, she says that.
And then he's like, oh, I messed up. And so he runs out and marries like some other girls. Like he goes back.
So how are you?
He's like, oh no, they don't like these ones. I'll give me a couple more. So he goes over to his other land and he gets some more wives. He's like trying to please them, but he's like stupid. He is the typical lunk. Like he's the athlete that has to cheat on the ACT to get in college.
Yeah.
That's who Esau is.
And Jacob is terrified of him.
And Jacob's scared of him because he's the weenie brother that knows, and even when Rebecca's like, hey, God wants to give you the blessing.
Yeah.
So we've got to do this scheme and we need to cook up this meat. And he's like, Daddy's going to know. He's going to yell at me. He's going to curse me and I'm going to be cursed. And she's like, let the curse fall on me, son.
Yeah.
Okay? Just do what I'm telling you.
I think it's also just worth bringing up how foreign the culture is to us, man. Like you read a story like this, like, dude, this is weird, man. In your families, is there a blessing that's passed on where inheritance and
my
stuff?
granddad's guns.
This is weird that this moment can't be taken back. There can't be like, I didn't mean to. It's
here's
like,
a blessing, no take back.
It really is.
know.
It's like you said the word blessing and it's over for you, pal. It's like there's no
unless it's like some kind of prophetic insight that he had. He's like, that's how it is. Your mama been telling me this, and I tried to not do it. And
sometimes I've read the story a ton over the years, and every once in a while when I read it, I'm like, man, maybe Isaac knew. Like he just keeps on questioning it. He keeps on questioning it.
Maybe
the scenario.
it's something, but
I
that's
wonder
a
if
great
that's
point.
The
Actually,
subtext,
the subtext of Jacob's life. Now that you mention it, is that he persists.
Yeah.
And he does this to Laban. He does all these little schemes to get his way.
Yeah.
That Laban kind of becomes aware of, And so maybe part of the thing is like Isaac, like, well, will he persist? Is he gonna ride this thing out to get the blessing? What's he doing?
Yeah.
But then he's like gets upset. He shakes with rage, though. Actually, he didn't know because come to think of the text, when Esau comes in, he's like, hey, Father, I made you some food. And he's like, whoa, who was in here? He's going to be blessed. Wah! He like hulks out.
Yeah.
And Esau starts crying.
Yeah.
Bless me too, oh my Father. And he's like, I gave the whole thing to whoever's in here. He's like, bless me too. And he's like, okay, you're going to have a lot of people, but eventually you're going to bear the yoke and you're going to get destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, thanks for the blessing, Dad.
Yep.
Here's your food.
Do you have only one blessing, my father? That's what he says.
That's what he says. Yeah.
Yeah. You will live by your sword and you'll serve your brother. That's what he tells him.
Yeah, he already made his brother master of him.
Yeah. Man, it's what a wild story. It's such a weird culture. It's not weird to them. It's weird to us. Like we just don't live like this.
There's some points of connection. Like we understand the oldest in the medieval days, the oldest child gets the title, he gets the inheritance and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's how they kept everything in the family. See, we're stupid now. We divided up every generation, so nobody has anything.
Yeah, that's right.
But that keeps older brothers from getting murdered.
Yeah.
So it's a trade-off.
That's so funny. I heard a quote the other day. It was Ben Shapiro.
I don't know him personally, but I've seen him.
You know of him. Yeah, of course. You've seen his videos and stuff. He was talking with somebody, and he said he was asking him about communism. And Ben Shapiro is like the furthest thing from a communist out there. He's like super Republican-ish, libertarian even. And he said, in my house we're communists though. He said, there's such a different phase of how we live in our home than how we live in the public sphere for politics and stuff. In my house, I'm a communist. Oh, you need help with I'm there to help my kids.
Does he also take their allowance and hoard it to himself? Like when he sends them out to work, does he take their?
I don't know.
Does his kids run around going,
small kids?
Long live the proletariat!
Yeah. I think his point though is he evenly distributes in his home, and stuff. And there's none of that kind of stuff. And that's kind of funny. That's how most people live today in their homes. Apparently they didn't live like that back then. They got oldest man, you're in charge, pal. You get it all. Yeah.
You just need to read Jane Austen novels to figure that out.
Yeah.
The oldest brother gets everything, and all the other brothers, he buys them a pastorate. Or makes them a soldier, buys them a commission.
Yeah, first, it's the inheritor, the soldier, the minister, the preacher, and then the fourth, you're on your own.
The fourth one's hope you can marry rich, son. Yeah. Good luck.
That kept for a long time, man. That was the way of the world for at least in the West. So, anyways, that's what's going on in this story. Esau becomes
he's the natural one that should inherit the blessing if you go by the customs of the day and what's going on.
Outside of this prophecy that God has given. Yeah, that would be the natural thing.
But the entire point of this whole narrative is the blessing of God does not come about by natural things.
That's the big deal.
That's the big deal.
That whatever God's doing in this stuff to bring about the blessing, right, that he's trying to do for all the nations and to build this family up to do that. Yeah. He's not doing it by the normal means. It's not going to be because these people.
There's a rabbi
because of him.
There's a rabbi that wrote about this from Tarsus. His name was Paul. And in Romans 9, he says that the election of God is not based on the will of man, but on the will of God. And so the whole point of this is the biggest and strongest don't always get it. The firstborn doesn't always get it. Even the most righteous one doesn't always get it. Yeah. It's going to be however God wants it to be. And that's what happens. We see that with Judah and Joseph.
Yeah, this story is deeply connected to the doctrine of election.
Yes,
in the Bible, because it's like Brad said, it's quoted in Romans 9. The quotation isn't from here; it's from a different passage. What's that passage? The quote that's Romans 9 quotes.
The Jacob I have loved and Esau I hated. I think it's in Micah.
Is it Micah? I got it right here. I'll pull it. This is worth reading.
Well, if it's in Micah, how much do I win? Is it 5-2? If it's Micah,
Malachi.
Dang!
Malachi 1, 2 through
maybe it says
3.
in Micah also. I lied.
So Malachi 1 says, the word of the Lord to Israel through Malachi, I have loved you, says the Lord, yet you have asked, how have you loved us? Wasn't Esau Jacob's brother? This is the Lord's declaration. Even so, I loved Jacob, but I hated Esau. And then it's quoted again later on in Romans 9, and it's talking about the election of Israel. It's talking about Israel's place in the plan of God, and what that has to do with the fallout is who is in the election of God. Yeah, right. That's
I think it's both. I think he's talking about the individuals and the nations they become. Yeah. But also it's very important to note that Hebrew idiom does not mean that God just absolutely hated Esau's
That's why
guts.
I wanted us to talk about that.
Yeah, because Jesus said, if you don't hate your mom and father and family and all that to follow me, you can't have part of me. He doesn't mean you got to actually despise your parents. He means in comparison to. Yeah. So in comparison to Jacob, Esau was hated. Yeah. Because Jacob gets to be the one through whom the world will be blessed. Yeah. He gets to be the one through whom the Messiah comes. Yeah. Now God blesses Esau. Now at first Esau's real mad because he's like, when my daddy dies, I'm going to kill Jacob. Yeah. That's his plan. Yeah. And Jacob believes it, and so does Rebekah.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, again, Rebekah.
Esau believes it, too.
Oh, yeah. Rebekah saves the day once again. Yeah. She's like, hey, Jacob, you need to leave.
Get out of Dodge, man.
Your brother's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
So go over to my brother, your uncle Laban, who's still around. Remember, the servant met Laban, and go live out there till Esau kind of cools down.
Yeah.
And it worked.
It did, because when they come back, when he comes back later, they are kind of reunited, and they like hug and they're buds, for a minute.
So, chapter 28, just to go back to Esau, it says Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan displeased his father Isaac, and Esau went to Ishmael and married his daughters. So.
Yeah.
Went and found him a cousin.
Yeah. Well, Jacob did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's bring it back to the Romans thing real quick about the hatred and the love. Just to reiterate that, like it's brought up a lot of times in someone's trying to like misquote the Bible, trying to attack the character of God.
Oh.
And that's super important, because it was like, say, well, your God hates.
Yeah,
it hates people. Like how could you do it?
Yeah,
and that's why it's worth.
I love those
noting,
objections.
I know it's worth noting. It's like this is not the same. This is not English. It was not written in English. This is an ancient language, and it's the same thing as saying I choose one, I don't choose the other. There's a list of these.
It's pretty strong.
Where it happens in. I mean, it's not like weak. It's not as weak as saying like I want the cheeseburger and not the chicken sandwich.
Yeah. The cheeseburger I've loved. The chicken sandwich I've hated.
I really like the cheeseburger, and I'm rejecting the chicken sandwich.
Yeah, but when people say, "Look, your God hates Esau," I don't even have to respond to that. I can just be like, "Well, so what?"
Well,
so what?
That's right. But what it mean when the full circle is like, you have to like have the context. Like, what happens to Esau? Well, at the end of the story, he's like
blessed. His socks off.
Yeah, and he's like, he's on good terms with the covenant bearer.
Yeah, he's hugging him and kissing him, and Jacob is scared still.
So whatever it means, it's like it doesn't mean Esau was like just cast out, didn't have a chance anymore.
But when people are like, God is going to judge, or your God hates people, or whatever, it's a non sequitur for me. And I'm not even sure I said that right, but it made me sound smart. Yeah. But it's like a non-starter.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, that's not what it means. But even if it did, God's going to judge people, and there will be folks in hell, and they deserve it. Yeah. So if you're just saying that, oh, your God's mean is going to judge people. Like, no, my God's good, and that's why he judges people.
That's right.
And he's going to judge you too, by the way.
Yeah.
And if you don't repent and put your faith in his son Jesus, no amount of whining about it is going to save you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what
that was kind of harsh, wasn't it?
No.
Okay,
I actually
it was
don't.
perfect.
That's not harsh.
Yeah, it was good.
No, it's like, that's just truth.
It is. We normally try to be pretty about it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just what it is.
We spent, okay, I say we. I'll just own the whole.
Yeah.
We spend millions, like giving away motorcycles and hot dog suppers and being nice to people and all that stuff. It's like,
Christianity.
Spend all our time saying God loves you, God loves you, God's got a great plan for your life, and rarely does anybody say, listen, God is the king of the world, and you've sinned against him.
Yeah.
And no amount of crying about it or complaining is going to change that. But he's giving you a chance. If you will repent, he will absolve you of your crimes because his son paid for them. But if not, you are going to burn in hell forever.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
That's absolutely truth. I think
doesn't mean God doesn't love people.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What's worth the conversation that's worth having is to help people get to the point where they understand God's character, because outside of their own expectations of what those words mean, because what a lot of people they see that kind of stuff and they know, well, it's wrong for me to hate someone, it's wrong for me to judge people, and it's like, yeah, okay, we got a good starting point. That's true.
And I mean, what does it mean? Like, we say words though, like hate. I hate that guy.
But just let me finish. Yeah, let me finish. Yeah, like God is not like you. That's the whole point.
He's not like you.
He's not like you.
No.
You're not the same.
Not even
close. Like
he can do all kind of stuff you can't do.
Yes, right. And it is, and in fact, it's wrong for you to do those things because you are not him.
Yeah.
And that's like almost all the things that people have objections about when it comes to the character of God. If they're skeptics, it's because they're real angst in their hearts that they are not God themselves.
Yes. So the authority / the old school word sovereignty of God.
Yeah.
It's tough for people to get their mind around because they want to be king. That's like the original.
Themselves. They love their plan.
So if I own my car,
yeah,
right, and I can take it out and shoot holes in it, like I own it.
Yeah.
There's no bank or note or nothing. I can take it out in the field and shoot holes in it, and nobody can do anything about it because it's my car, right? Mm-hmm. If you take my car and go shoot holes in it, you can go to jail.
Yeah.
Right? So God owns the world.
He does.
And he can do stuff with it because it's his that we can't do.
Yep.
It's his world. We just live in it.
He can choose Jacob and not choose Esau.
He can.
And he does.
He could have let everybody go to hell.
He can. And it gets to the like election is in the same realms. Like people struggle with the doctrine of election, that God chooses people because it means that others are not chosen.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're like, well, how can that be? That's not fair.
Yeah.
Right. That's the objection.
It's not fair.
It's not fair that God would choose.
It's not fair.
He chose me.
Yeah.
He chose me, and it's not fair. He would choose me and not choose the majority of humans.
It's not fair.
So why? That's right.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
I would agree with them.
And we like that.
Yes.
Not because we're elitist.
If there were 1 million people who did awful, heinous crimes, and they were all sorry, and they all hung for them,
yep,
it's fair.
It's fair.
If some got a pardon and others didn't, it's not fair.
Yep.
But that's how it is.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
And so the issue with some of those
also
objections,
God's not stopping anyone. Election does not determine like your love. It does in a way, but election. When God says, "If you will believe in my Son and trust Him and repent of your sin, I will save you," He means that to every single person on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Their refusal to repent and believe has nothing to do with the fact that they're not elected. It has to do with the fact that they're sinful.
Yeah.
And so if God says, "Hey, if you'll believe in my Son, I'll save you," like, no, I don't want nothing to do with him. I feel like I'm a pretty good king and I'm a pretty good dude and I'm not going to God's sake. And if God says, "Okay, have it your way," like Burger King.
Yeah.
But if another dude says, "No, I don't want nothing to do with Jesus," he's like, "I think I'm going to save this guy." He's like, "No, what do you think about this? What do you think about this?" And the God draws him to himself and saves him.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't do anything wrong. He can do whatever he wants.
He can do whatever he
and we
wants.
don't know why he does that.
No, we don't.
Other than that's what he wants to do, and that's for his glory. The
objection is like, and this is the case with a lot of objections about the character of God in these doctrines. The objection is a incoherent question. That's the big. It's like it doesn't even make sense with the facts of the Bible. The question isn't how could God do such a thing. The question and all of these things is why does He elect anyone? Mm-hmm. And as you read Genesis, as you read the whole story, it's like that is the real question. He's insistent on this blessing, on bringing blessing here, despite like the dumpster fire that is.
It's a total dumpster fire.
And so He's choosing people. He could get rid of both of them. He could shut the whole thing down.
He almost does it with Moses.
Yeah, and he would have been right to do so.
He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, and so that's the big story. We are all like, if you are in Christ, you're a beneficiary of God's election.
That's why we started in Genesis.
Yeah,
I mean, really, the foundation of, if you're out there having this question right now, go back to Genesis 1. Who made this place?
Yeah, it's God's.
It's God's place.
Yeah,
and He made people. Yeah. And then you're like, well, it's not fair. Really, I think, okay, you can correct me. Everybody out there can write me letters. We're not really so concerned about the other people. We're projecting onto them.
Yeah.
So what it is if I can justify this dude not being judged, like that's not fair, I can justify this dude not getting judged.
Absolutely.
That's all it is.
When it comes to the objectives.
Because if you made this person, you say, okay, you're the king now. So I guess you're going to spare everybody and there won't be any judgment. And you'll just say, oh, that's okay. We're going to take care of all this. Dude, those people will be killing folks faster than you can say what just happened here.
Yep.
And that's what
100%.
happens when tyrants take over countries with all their well-meaning stuff.
Yep.
It's bad.
You're not going to out mercy God.
No way.
Like and so the election is an incredible mercy. It is wonderful. We don't want fairness. Why? Fairness is awful.
We
Fairness,
don't want justice.
Yeah, we don't want justice.
Not for us.
Because that's what fairness is. It's justice. If it's justice, man, we're all doomed.
Doomed.
Right? And that's and God is a just God, but He is also a merciful God. He is full of mercy.
Yeah. I mean, it's bad out there.
Yep.
Real bad. So if God's word is true and all these folks trying to justify themselves, how do you explain the popularity of like porn sites on the internet?
Yeah.
How do you explain
That's right,
the
for
fact
real.
that if every single time they set up a pedophile sting, there's 11 dudes that show up to try to get with 10-year-olds?
Yeah.
How do you explain the murder rate in our cities?
Yeah.
The most eminently provable doctrine of Christianity is the absolute depravity of humankind.
Absolutely.
What is happening in Israel today?
Yeah.
People don't
Oh
even
my
know who
gosh.
to pick sides with. There's so
Yeah.
much shooting and killing going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
It's Ukraine.
Yeah.
These folks out there watching poor Russian kids getting chased around with drones and nuked.
Yeah.
You can't do nothing about it. Is this a good place? We have a facade we live under in the United States that is actually the blanket of protection that people provide, like the dude says in A Few Good Men, that they are absolutely clueless about and rage about all the time. Have no idea the sacrifices people make so that you can eat a Big Mac. No idea.
Man, Brad is just bringing it fire.
Son, it fires me up.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I know.
It's true. The depravity is the real thing, man. There's no one good. There's and anyone thinking that, it's worth asking a question for yourself, for others. This isn't a Bible verse. Like, we don't have this scenario exactly, but it's a good, litmus test to get down to the root of what you believe about your own righteousness or lack of it. It's like, if you were to show up in heaven after your death and in judgment, it's time to be judged by the judge, capital D, capital J.
Yeah.
And he asks you, why should you enter paradise with me, my son, and all my big family? Why should I let you do that? What's your answer going to be? And if you start going on about how you're usually a good person, oh my God,
You're so dead.
How ridiculous is that?
Dude.
What do you have to do to erase all the crap you've done? You can't do it.
You can't.
There's
no take backs.
It's insanity.
It's crazy.
What do you have to do to make it where you never lied? To make it where you never, did,
Every single person listening to this has done stuff in their life that if everybody knew about it, they'd have to crawl under a rock
and stay there.
and stay there.
And so it's like it's a fiction. The scale, balancing the scales is a fiction.
It's a fiction.
That you could balance your wickedness with goodness.
Oh my
right?
goodness! Did we already talk about Superman?
No, we didn't. I use this illustration all the time because if you tell it, it's a great illustration.
So you got Superman or Batman. Pick your favorite hero. I don't care.
Yeah.
And Superman's great. He saves the world a bunch of times. But one day, Superman is short on lunch money, and he just goes down and just knocks a dude, slaps him silly, takes his wallet, goes in there and buys lunch.
He robs a guy.
Robs a dude. That it? Should we find Superman? I mean, he saved the world. All he did was take a dude's 20 spot.
Yeah.
And went and bought lunch with it.
Yeah, he should go to court.
Should he go to court?
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah. Well,
what's the balance on this scale?
Yeah. So I gave this illustration the
what
other
about
day.
a bank? What if it's like, you know
bank,
what?
yeah.
I'm sick of making stupid Daily Planet money. I'm going to make the real money. I'm going to go in Fort Knox. Can't nobody stop him. I'm going to go in there and get all the gold. And hey.
He saved 8 billion people.
I saved 8 billion people. What y'all crying about?
Yeah.
Why do you care if I build my patio out of gold?
Yeah.
Palace out of gold. That's what y'all owe me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, man.
Wait a second.
Superman, you're kind of messing up the economy. This could make people starve and such like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's bad. You got, if anybody could balance the scales, it ought to be Superman.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be ticked off. And everybody be like, okay. If he takes the guy's 20, we'll just let it slide.
Yeah.
What if it's your 20?
Oh, what if it's your 100? What if it's your bank?
What if it's your bank account?
Yeah. What if it's your house?
Yeah. What if he takes your woman?
Oh,
Huh?
man.
Superman. Would he do it?
Oh man,
I'm just saying.
no, yeah, for real. So I gave
I'm
this
mad at
illustration
him.
the other
Superman
day.
never did all that stuff, except in Legends. I think he went a little bit nuts.
He
but
did.
anyway,
Yeah. The other day in youth group, I did this. I used that illustration, and there's one student in there that every time like I upped the ante, it's like, what if he did this? Like, what if he robbed like 10 banks? What if he like started robbing a bank a week and stuff? And she was like she just kept on going. She's like, yeah, I think I'm okay with it. Yeah, I think I'm okay with it. She's like, Superman could be a tyrant over her. She's fine with that. But what that illustration demonstrates is that there is no that one sin for Superman. Everyone's like, no, you got to go to jail, man. You got to get the full extent of the law.
We gonna
on
slap you with a misdemeanor soups.
We're getting the kryptonite out on you, Superman.
Yeah, we're gonna make some bullets if you start doing this stuff.
And so, which means that the scale is a fiction. The scale of balancing right versus wrong. I can be a good person in God's eyes because I'm not an axe murderer. To make up for
sin is the dumbest thing. Yeah. It's like if you murder someone's kid.
Yeah.
Knock on the door. Hey, man, I just kind of went nuts the other day. I was drinking and driving, ran your kid over. How about I just mow your yard for the rest of your life? We'll call it even.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do to pay that guy back?
Yep.
What if he demands your life for it? Eye for an eye.
And if you were to do that, is the boy going to come back?
No. I say there's no justice in this world, my friend.
Yep.
We don't even know what it is. You can ask 25 people, what should we do for this crime? And you get 25 answers.
Yep.
The only place you ever find justice is in the presence of the great king.
Yep.
And it's going to make the world shake. People are going to say, let the mountains fall on us, for the day of the wrath of the Lamb has come, and who can stand?
Yeah, that's in the Bible.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it is.
And behold, I heard the voice of
all that to say, election is not the problem. Okay, that God would elect people, that's not the problem. The problem in that when the objections come about election is our own perception of sin, our own sin, our own perception of our own holiness and righteousness, and that we want to be in charge.
The thing is, if we could just say the big deal. Here's the big deal. Your problem, dear listener, is that you think you're God.
Yep.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
And we see this in our culture manifesting.
We're not going ivory tower on you.
No,
on that.
no.
Like it's just you.
No, but I want
I'm also the problem.
Well,
you know?
not me.
Yeah.
Wait, no. See, I've done it. Yeah. So yes, it's me.
Yeah.
That's how I know you so well.
Yeah.
That's how it manifests in our culture with this radical individualism.
Yep.
It's just really radical I'm Godism.
Yeah.
And what's crazy, and it makes no sense, like if somebody says, I identify this way.
Yeah.
You must agree with me. Why should you? Are you the sovereign potentate?
Potentate.
Why should I have to kowtow to your idea about who you are? Why can't you be who I said you were?
Yeah.
I'm the king of my domain. Why do I need to listen to you?
That's where you see the whole
now we got people using litter boxes
breaking
in
down.
grade school.
Yeah. Everyone wants to be God, man.
Man, they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't stand it.
Yeah. It goes all the way around, don't it?
I'm stupid. Hey, listen, the world is a war zone.
Yeah.
And it's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get out of here. I just read this week, 73-year-old pastor wrote 50 gajillion books.
Is he 73?
73.
Wow.
Was a dean at the Master's Seminary.
Yeah.
Was a fellow at Ligonier Ministry. Fired from his church at 73 years old for an inappropriate relationship with a woman.
Oh.
I have sworn with an uplifted hand, this will not be me. When I'm 73 years old, I'm going to rob a bank. I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to rob a gas station or something.
It's not going to be adultery.
Not adultery.
Yeah.
Come on, man. What are we doing, pastors? It's scary, I guess. You start getting old, and I can't even go there. But like you start getting old, and you look old, and you're ugly, and you just get wrinkly, and your ears keep growing, your nose gets huge, and things don't work like it used to, and you think, I'm a has-been, and somebody pays you a little bit of attention, and I guess you just...
man, I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to justify it.
No, I'm just saying, it's like your brain can't let go of it. You think you're God.
Living the glory days.
Man.
Man.
Golly.
So the reason we went into all that is because this is like there's actually a reason.
No reason.
There was. We went the path. There was a path there. Because this is one of the first explicit signs of God's election in.
Other than pulling Abraham out of nowhere, out of a hat.
Well, this is one not the other, though.
Yeah,
is what I mean. You know, we got one not the other here.
Yes.
And
also, just Rebecca, when she tells Jacob to leave, she says, "Go stay with your Uncle Laban for a few days." That's what she says. Until your brothers upset. So, Esau's one of those dudes like, and then he gets over it.
Yeah.
He didn't stay a few days.
He stayed for what? How many years was it?
14.
14. It's probably a
little longer than that.
Probably
14 just to get Rachel as a wife.
Yeah.
Old Laban.
Yeah.
Snookered him.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible. I don't understand that part of the Bible.
I know it. This is the weird thing, man. Like this is not the same.
No,
we're not.
It's well, we didn't have so much light pollution, and in the dark.
I think he was drunk. Let's say we can bring that story into it too, I guess.
So he runs off to his Uncle Laban.
Yeah.
And he goes to this well.
Yeah.
Not the well, but the hole in the ground with the water in it well. And they covered these wells in the day because it's the desert, right?
Uh-huh.
And you don't want the water to evaporate out.
Yeah.
So they had these huge stones over this well. And Jacob, it usually took a bunch of people to do it. Jacob was a stout fella.
Yeah.
So Esau must have been a man's man if Jacob was scared of him. So he sees Rachel coming, and she's there first. She's a shepherdess. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh.
I like her.
I like her, man. And he goes and he pulls the top off the well, and he's like, who are you? And she's like, oh, I'm Laban's daughter. And he's like, hot diggity.
This is who I've come to find.
Oh, just like the servant from Abraham, right?
Yeah.
Met him at a well. That's why the seminary guys, they're single. She's hanging out by the water fountain. Anyway, so there he goes. And he's in love. And he's like, hey, he hangs out with Laban a little while, and Laban kind of gets sick of him a little bit. Wears out his welcome some. And he's like, hey, so how long you want to stick around? And he's like, well, I tell you what, I'll work for you for 7 years if you'll give me Rachel as my wife. And Laban's like, deal. Deal.
He does it too.
He does it. He works 7 years. It's the most romantic part of the Bible and the most unromantic part of the Bible, because it says, and Jacob worked 7 years for Rachel, and it seemed to him as only a few days because his love for her was so great. And the next verse says, and he went to Laban and says, give me my wife. I want to sleep with her. That's what he said. Dude, 7 years this dude, man. Oh, wow. Romance, reality. Yeah. That's what he said. You can look it up. Man. It's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible. Yeah. And then what happens? There's a wedding.
So there's a wedding. Laban throws on a big feast, and this is my take on it. Maybe there was a little imbibing going on.
I think it's got to be.
Rachel and Leah were sisters, so probably shapely the same. And it's real dark in that tent. And probably he was like, hey, go in there. We're going to send Leah in. Rachel. We're going to send Rachel in there. And, congratulations, son. So Jacob does the deed with this woman.
Yeah.
Wakes up the next day. It ain't Rachel.
It's Leah.
And it says Rachel was pretty, but Leah had goofy eyes. That's what it says. It didn't like her eyes, man.
I know. How? God, poor Leah.
I don't know.
She's like, it has been written down in God's word
for thousands of years
that she is ugly.
That she's at least not as pretty as Rachel. At least Jacob didn't like her.
Golly, man. What an unfortunate scenario.
Unfortunate. And the next day, of course, Jacob's a little...
He's a little peeved?
He's a little peeved.
Peeved, yeah.
He's like, what the heck? I worked for 7 years for this woman.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, it's not the custom around here to marry the younger before the older, so work for me another 7 years. I'll give you Rachel, too. And he's like, okay.
So this is another...
But then he marries her the next week and works 7 years.
He still works,
Now he's got sister wives. Actually, the Bible calls them rivals.
Yep.
not sister wives. There ain't no happiness in any home where there's 2 wives and
No,
1 man.
we've made the point clear on that.
None.
Yeah.
You would probably have a better house with 2 dudes and 1 woman than 1 man and 2 women.
We're not going there, man.
I ain't going
No,
there.
that's no. There's no better.
There ain't no way scenario
You can't
this
compare
works.
these things.
No,
yeah,
it's so bad.
Yeah, it's all bad. But it is another like weird. This is a different culture, man. Different culture. Like, what if that happened today? What would happen?
It happens today.
What?
They had a whole series on the TV called Sister Wives.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, the whole like we sent Leah in instead of Rachel.
Oh,
yeah,
my gosh. If
if
this
that
were a
happens,
show-
that's like, you're not actually married to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not married to Leah. You're married to Rachel. Y'all signed the document.
Yeah.
Right? That's like in today's world, like that's what would happen if someone tricked you like that.
Yeah.
Somehow you got like some kind of like
I feel like
sedation
jail.
shot.
I feel like jail would happen. It would be
It might.
some
Yeah.
sort
There
of
would be like some sort of. It'd be a weird civil case or something.
And Leah, what is she thinking?
Yeah.
Her daddy did that to her.
Yeah.
I want to go back in time and punch him.
Yeah.
I can't.
Laban kind of sucks,
Oh,
man.
he's bad.
Yeah.
He also is an idol worshiper.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. When Rachel leaves,
She steals them.
She takes the idols.
Family gods.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
Laban.
He's mad. He's ready to kill over it, too.
Yep. Yep. He stole God. She stole God.
You got a pretty sorry God if somebody can steal it.
For real.
Yeah.
For real. What an embarrassment.
Isaiah talks about that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
one of the most beautiful,
It is.
eloquent things about idols you'll ever read.
Yeah.
He's like, you got an idol over here, you carved out of one half a piece of wood today, and you burnt the other half in a fire. You got to tote it around. It can't talk. It can't say nothing. You got to take care of it. Oh, my little idol. If it falls over, you got to pick him back up again.
Yeah. What a powerless God.
What a stupid
Man,
God.
that's so
puny God.
Puny. And so this is a story of Jacob. He tricks, he gets tricked, and this is God's sovereignty. Interesting. Calvin talks about God's sovereignty like this with secondary means.
Yeah.
That like there's so much like trickery and deception involved in these stories right here that like that's kind of how we started this conversation. It's like, is it right to lie? Is it right to deceive based on these stories? Calvin talks about these secondary means that God uses for his sovereignty in his plan, that he's not like desiring that people sin. He doesn't. It's not like God is like, yes, I love that you sin. That's my plan. Is that you are a sinner, but he is in charge of this world and will use those things for his own glory and our good. Like he
likes to confuse us.
Yeah.
He keeps us on our toes.
Well, and you see this in demonstration with like his judgment especially in the Old Testament against nations using like foreign kings. It's not like Babylon was the apple of his eye,
No.
like who they were worshiping, love God, love Yahweh. I'm all in on Yahweh.
Although there were a few times that some weird stuff happened, like when Egypt came and they were about to get in a fight. He's like, "Hey, God told me to come up here and fight against the Israel of the north, not Judah. So don't get in my way.
Yeah.
God has called me here to do this." And the Judah king goes, I think it was Josiah, maybe. I can't remember. And he's like, "No, I'm gonna fight you." And he's like, "All right," and he gets killed.
Yeah.
And it kills him because God did call Egypt up there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like that God is using these other nations and stuff in
Darius.
Yeah. To judge Israel. He uses Israel to judge other nations. And so these that's how God works sometimes. Like he's using these secondary means, but I mean actually if he told him that's a primary means, right? But sometimes it's
secondary means confuse me sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, God just, it's things we used to. People say secondary means when they don't want to blame God for sin.
Well, it's not that they don't want to blame God for sin; it's that He is not to blame.
They got to have some kind of something.
And I mean, God doesn't tell people to sin, though.
No.
He's like, He commands them not to sin. And so that's like the important distinction there.
Yeah. Oh, Isaac got over it, though. Because, before Jacob left, he didn't sneak off.
No, yeah. He
Isaac
got a
blesses him.
He did.
He blessed him with the blessing of Abraham.
Yep,
and he tells him to take a wife from Laban.
Yep, that's right.
So, in that regard, It's okay. But, and also there's a distinction here, right? We're following this narrative, right?
Yep.
The servant went down there, did his business, came home. Jacob doesn't do it.
Yeah.
He doesn't do what his mother counseled, and it costs him.
That's right.
He doesn't do what he was counseled to do.
Yeah.
He should have went down there and gave out some gold bangles and been like, hey, I need to get a wife from you. Let's get out of here.
It costs him. You think about the fallout. He's got 2 wives.
Yeah.
Who have a bitter rivalry.
Bitter.
Who, because of that rivalry, you have rivalry among their sons.
Yes.
Which ends up with Joseph being
just about murdered
and sold into slavery.
They were going to kill him.
Yeah. And the fallout, like sin messes everything up, man.
It messes everything up.
Yeah.
And then Jacob repeats his father's sins of favoritism.
Yep.
Which is what leads to the brothers all being jacked up. Reuben is a little bit of a tragic, the oldest of Jacob. He just...
Oh my gosh.
He's like, don't kill him.
Yeah.
Like, don't mess with him. And Reuben actually, when they capture Joseph, Reuben takes off. He's going to tell his dad.
Yeah.
And he's going to come back and rescue Joseph out of the well.
Yeah.
And when he's gone, he's like, oh my goodness. But he slept with his dad's concubine.
I know it. It's like what it makes back. That's the story of Genesis, man. It's like just like a stumbling drunk, like that's the nation.
And these are the days of our lives.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
for
like
real.
a soap opera.
And through it all is this like wild thread of God's sovereignty to bring about the Messiah. And he is still doing it, even though these people are crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And he picks Judah. And Joseph never does anything wrong.
Yep.
As far as we know. In the narrative, you think, it kind of builds up to where you think, it's going to be Joseph.
Yeah, Joseph's like the hero
Joseph's our brother.
of
no, we're
Genesis.
going to pick the brother who decided to sell him into slavery.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Election.
The brother that slept with his daughter-in-law.
Yeah. But it's not like Joseph is abandoned or anything. His
he gets 2
family
tribes.
Stuff. He gets 2
double
tribes,
portion.
and
he gets to be the king.
Yeah.
I mean, he got some good stuff.
So we covered some ground today. I guess next week we'll circle back.
We should talk about one thing though.
What do you want to talk about?
Remember when he falls asleep? And when he's on the run.
Oh no, that's
he's by
good.
himself.
Yeah. With Bethel.
Yeah, Bethel.
Yeah,
Bethel.
This is
House of God.
This is before he's met Rachel.
Before he met Rachel, he's on the way. He's
run.
freaking out. He's by himself. He's homesick.
Chapter
his mama's
28,
boy.
10.
Yeah, and he falls asleep with a rock for a pillow, which now they coronate the kings of England over. That's what they claim.
Is that right?
Yeah, they say it's Jacob's stone. Yeah, you didn't know that?
How in the
there is an entire
bogus claim.
Well, you're going to get the King of England after you. But yeah. So there's like
who cares?
What is it called? It's not called the Blarney Stone.
Is it the Blarney Stone? Let's look at this up.
There's some kind of stone. It's supposed to be Jacob's.
What is the Blarney?
That may not be it.
Stone.
You could look up what's the
Blarney Stone is said to have been the stone used by Jacob as a pillow when he dreamed of the ladder.
Sunshine. Dude, let me tell you something about my brain. I know that the Blarney Stone is supposed to be Jacob's rock that he slept on.
Yeah.
I know that it was in Scotland. Do you know this story?
It's not Scotland.
No, it's not now.
Oh, okay.
It is now, too. They stole it. So what happened was the British stole it from the Scots. Mm-hmm. Because they used to have kings going back and forth between Scotland and England, and they stole it from the Scottish, and it was in England until 1950, and a bunch of Scots got upset about it, and they broke into Westminster Abbey. They snuck in there, they toted the Blarney Stone out of the cathedral in the dark of night, stuck it in the trunk of their car, and drove it back to Scotland.
I think it's Ireland.
Ireland?
Yeah, it's
no,
Ireland.
It's got to be Scotland.
It's Ireland.
They stole it and took it to Ireland?
It's Ireland.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, I missed part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's Ireland. It's not Scotland, yeah.
I wish it was Scotland.
It's Ireland's Blarney Stone.
They stole it back.
Yeah, it must have. Yeah,
They did. They stole it back.
I got the Wikipedia article pulled up. I'm going to read this tonight.
They made a movie about it, and it's hilarious.
Oh, really? What's the movie called?
It's called "We're Stealing Back the Blarney Stone." You sorry, Brits. No, I don't know what it's called. I made that up. But yeah,
There was a movie?
But it was just like normal dudes at a pub, and they saw something like, "Let's go get the Blarney Stone."
It's part of a castle.
Yeah,
It's like part of a. It's part of the battlements on this castle.
And then England was like, "Hey, we want the Blarney Stone back." And Ireland, I guess it was, found out. And they're like, "No."
It was set into the tower of the castle in 1446, and it's been there ever since.
No, this is a different thing.
I think you're talking about a different thing.
It's definitely a different thing.
Yeah.
This thing went to Scotland.
This is the Blarney Stone is the.
There must be more than one stone they claim.
Is there more than one
Jacob Pillow?
Yeah, Jacob Pillow Stone.
Okay, while you're looking that
Jacob Pillow Stone.
here's why we need to talk about this, because we started out talking about rock and roll, man. You know what this is going to, don't you?
No, I don't. What's it?
Jacob falls asleep.
Uh-huh.
He's on his rock pillow that they now ordain the kings of England over. He has a dream.
Uh-huh.
And a stairway comes down from heaven.
Oh, what's going to happen?
And there are angels going back and forth on the stairway.
Yeah.
And 4,000 years later, Led Zeppelin writes the most famous guitar solo in the history of the world, called Stairway to Heaven.
It is the most famous, probably.
The most famous.
One of them. I don't know if it's the most famous. It's one of it's top 5 easily.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Top 5. I mean, the only reason it's not still number 1 is because the progress of time.
The only
but
reason
like in
it's-
1991,
yeah.
if you went into a guitar store and some knucklehead picked up a guitar, he's playing the lick to Stairway to
I
Heaven.
think that it's not the top because it's not as easy as some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Like Smoke on the Water is the top because it's so easy.
Yes. But that's why everybody likes to play it.
Yeah.
Because when you've got a little bit of a little something, you can play Stairway to Heaven.
It's your first intermediate like glimpse of intermediate guitar. Yeah.
Yeah. You should.
I remember when I learned it. I was like,
my the one I used to show off was Dust in the Wind.
Oh, that's
That's
nice.
a
Yeah.
That's a nice one. Yeah.
I love that song. Yeah. Cool. Well, I've
that was back before I started a band.
Yeah. Hey, let's get back into. We didn't finish this about the stone.
Oh,
he slept on the stone. What's the big deal about the stone? Or what's the big deal about this moment at Bethel?
God comes to him.
He comes to him
and he says, "Hey, I am going to bless you." So Isaac blessed him. Said, "May you have the promise of your forefather Abraham."
Yeah.
He says that literally.
I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham.
Yeah, but I mean, Isaac gives him the blessing and says that. Then God introduces himself to Jacob at Bethel. That's the big deal. He's like, "You are going to be the one through whom all the nations will be blessed." And then Jacob is like, "How do I know? Are you going to show me?" And then he's like, "I will anoint this stone, and if you'll bring me back to this stone and everything works out, then I will worship you always."
Yeah.
Jacob is a schemer.
Yeah.
He's trying to scheme with God right from the jump, man.
Yeah. If God will be with me and watch over me during this journey I'm making, if He provides me with food to eat and clothing to wear, and if I return safely to my father's family, then the Lord will be my God. This stone that I've set up as a marker will be God's house, and I'll give you 1/10 of all that you give me. Yeah, that's wild. So, God introduces Himself. The covenant's being passed along here. And I think, when it comes to the big deal of the story of Jacob, the first stage of Jacob, because I guess this is really Jacob's saga right here, and the next is kind of Joseph's saga. Brad, let's sum it up. Like, what is the big deal of Jacob's story?
Okay, but first,
what did you look at? Okay.
The stone that they stole, the Scottish thing I'm talking about, was called the Stone of Destiny.
Oh, okay.
The Stone of Scone was stolen from Westminster Abbey by Scottish nationalists on Christmas Day, 1950. Why? Because it was a symbol of Scottish kingship.
Yeah.
And
just not the Blarney Stone.
No, they got more than one. They're crazy about this.
Do they coronate people over that stone too?
Yeah.
Was that the one that they actually coronate people over?
They coronated the kings of Scotland over that stone.
Okay.
And so England must have whooped Scotland, and they took the stone.
England
and they
did whoop
stuck it in
Scotland.
Westminster Abbey and forgot about it for like 300 years
Oh,
or
wow.
something. And one day, a bunch of Scots were drinking at a pub. It's like, let's just drive down to England, get
Yeah.
that stone for Christmas.
Wow.
And they bring it back. Man, those guys are legends.
Yeah, what legends. man.
Legends. They made a movie about them.
Yeah. What's the movie though?
Oh, let me look it up.
yeah, we need the movie, man. Is it a
What
good movie?
Yes.
When was it made?
A long time ago.
Oh, it's old?
But what's funny is they put it in the boot. You know, that's
that's
of
British,
like a what's that little car? Mini Cooper or something.
Oh, yeah.
Tiny little car, and this stone weighed like 500 pounds. They could barely get it out of there. It's huge, and they drop it in the back of the car, and it won't hardly
I want to
run.
look up the Stone of Destiny. All right.
About the
Yeah, that's not small.
yeah, of the Stone of Destiny.
So is that what they that's the one that they coronate people over?
Yes, they
Yeah.
coronated the kings of Scotland.
It's called
like
the Stone
King
of Destiny.
James.
That's what the name of the movie is, Stone of Destiny.
Yeah, the King James of the Bible was Scottish. He was coronated over that stone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then they had a bunch of shooting and killing and stabbing and stuff, and England took over, and William Wallace was, freedom, all that stuff. Robert the Bruce come back and whooped some people, and it went round and round.
All right, let's get the big deal. The big deal about the story of Jacob.
The story of Jacob, the big deal is that God loved him for no good reason other
Yep.
than he wanted to. Jacob will, the summation of Jacob's life is going to be, you have fought with God and man and have prevailed. The entire life of Jacob is a struggle because of his own dumbness. And even from the moment he come out, he's grabbing a hold of Esau's heel. And so God is going to bless Jacob despite his machinations. That's the big deal.
Yeah.
And God's being faithful the whole time.
Changes his name.
Changed his name, Jacob, to Israel.
Israel. Yeah.
Israel is so special. It means hip out of joint. It means out of joint.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
God smacks him in the hip and knocks it loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the whole nation's kind of named after a fight with God.
Yes.
That's
wrestled.
Wrestling.
Yep. God got him in a leg lock and Jacob didn't tap.
Yep.
And as went snap, bud.
Yep.
He was
Yep.
limping the rest of his life.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's the big deal, folks, about the story of Jacob. Next week, we're going to talk about Joseph. We're going to...
Joseph.
Bunch of Joseph. Yeah.
Well, we might talk a little bit about Jacob running back home. That's pretty fun.
We kind of covered it, though.
I don't know, man. When she's sitting on that saddle and he's looking for his gods, and Laban's madder than a hornet, and he's like, "Get up! I think you've got my." Jacob doesn't think anybody stole them. He's like, "If anybody, you find those stones, you find that idol with anybody, that we'll kill them today."
The stories overlap, like the era overlaps. Like you kind of expect all of this is how we write books. All of Jacob is right here, then all of this Joseph saga is like right here. But actually, there's like this overlap
Weaving.
of like and it's weaved together and stuff. All the idol stuff and the being reunited with Esau that happens after they're all the kids are born. That's a lot of the stuff has already begun. So. Yeah, we might discuss some of that, but
we'll just see how the mood hits.
The big piece of the narrative is Joseph after this. So we'll see what happens next week on the Big Deal Podcast. Thank you all so much for listening.
Oh yeah.